Welcome everyone to our Week 8 video review for the 2022 high school football season. And at the beginning of this video, we're going to put a heavy emphasis on our mechanics. We want to use good quality mechanics, and sometimes mechanics can sell calls. So when we enter the field, if we have a good appearance and then we use good mechanics during the game, this can help us to gain credibility. So let's get started with some focus on some mechanics. Our first play, we're going to focus on mirroring the stop the clock signal. So anytime we stop the clock, we should really mirror the other officials of stopping the clock. In this play, we see the umpire give the stop the clock signal, but we would also like to see the head linesman give the stop the clock. And we can't see the other officials in this play, but if we all mirror the stop the clock, this will help the clock operator so that we don't have a problem with clock issues. As we're in week 8 now, we've got to be improving on our dead ball signals, and let's focus on this when we have a dead ball situation. Remember the dead ball signal, hand over the head. And this is also very important for our clock operators, as many of these schools have a play clock, and we instruct those play clock operators to start that play clock shortly after we give the dead ball signal. So it's really important for us to focus on that so that the play clock operators know when to reset that play clock to the appropriate time. On our next play, we're going to talk about giving a stop the clock or winding signal when we have a play that ends when it's pressing the sideline within a few yards. So don't expect the clock operator to know here. Let's communicate to the clock operator by giving the stop the clock or winding the clock signal. This also communicates to not only the coaches but also your crew members so that we know the status of the clock. On our next play, we're going to talk about how important it is for our wing officials to punch backwards on backwards passes. And on this particular play, the quarterback throws what looked like from this angle would be a backward pass, and then we have another pass that's forward for a touchdown. So it's really important that our wing officials communicate with the backwards pass so that all the officials know that we have a legal pass and not two forward passes on this play. On this play, we're going to look at the mechanics for positioning of the line judge when the kicking team on a try lines up in one of these alternate formations like a swinging gate. The line judge needs to stay on the line of scrimmage until the team moves into its normal legal kicking formation. That way we have proper coverage of the officials on this particular alignment when they line up in a swinging gate type of formation. So we're going to look at our second and fourth play of this game. So let's keep in mind we're going to have another 140 some approximately plays depending on how this game goes. So here we have two plays that involve sideline and whether the player is in or out of bounds. We also have a first down gain. And on both these plays, we can see the head linesman winding the clock. But let's remember the proper mechanics here when we get a first down is to first stop the clock first. And then we can go back and let the referee know that the clock should be winding. Also, let's keep in mind that this is the second and fourth play of the game, and this head linesman may have been ruling this forward progress stopped inbounds. But keep in mind, we also want to realize that it is early in the game, and sometimes the optics can be that we are trying to rush the game if we are continuously winding the clock. So just keep that in mind when you're making these decisions on in and out of bounds plays. Our next play, we're going to look at a mechanic for goal line, and on this particular play, we have a running play that ends up in the line judge side of the field and is pressing both the sideline, the goal line, and the pylon here. And so line judges, as you notice in this particular play, the play comes right in front of him, right in front of his lap, and we want to move back. Go ahead and move back. You can be back 4 or 5 yards for your safety. Also, you get a better view. And also, if before the game you have those down markers, the goal line down marker lying there, go ahead and move that back out of your way so that you have room to work so that your safety is not jeopardized on these particular plays. Our next play here, we're going to talk about preliminary signals and mechanics, and we're going to see our umpire throw a flag for a false start, and then he gives the preliminary signal for false start. Let's avoid using this particular signal. The reason why is if we have more than one flag on a play, and one official gives the preliminary signal for false start, another one gives an encroachment signal, it's going to cause some problems and cause some problems with our coaches. So let's communicate verbally or via the radio with the referee before we give these types of signals. So in our week 7 video, I did a lengthy presentation and discussion about mechanics for punt plays specifically, and it's about the 5:37 mark is when it started. And I used this diagram in that about how to have a balanced and effective coverage for the 5-person officiating crew, how we need to be positioned prior to the kick and during the kick where our focus is going to be. And so I want to show a quick play here about why it's so important for the back judge to be in the proper side of the field. So in this play we have a punt situation, and we're going to take notice that the back judges position themselves on the line judge side of the field, which throws off the balance of the officials and the focus of the officials to their areas. You notice I have you 2 officials right here coming into play, the line judge and the back judge. So when we get out of positional, and especially punt plays with a 5-person punt situation, it can throw off our mechanics and throw off where we're looking, and we can miss things. So we really need to be focused on our position. So the back judge really needs to focus on being on the head linesman side of the field during these plays. And as we take a look at this diagram is incorrect, obviously, and I've moved the back judge over to the line judge side of the field, and notice the line judge is moving downfield. So now we have the umpire turning to help out the line judge side, the line judge moving down towards the back judge being over on the line judge side, and we have nobody on the head linesman side, so we're not very balanced. And also, if the ball would be kicked out of bounds here, who would come down and spot it, chop it in on the head linesman side of the field? So these are all things to consider, and that's why it's so important that we get our positions right prior to the kick. So in this particular play, it looks like we have a flag by the line judge for 5 in the backfield, because it looks like our tackle on this side of the line of scrimmage on the end here is in the backfield. And this is a good call, as there is an advantage for the tackle being in the backfield like that sometimes, and we want to get this call. But early in the game, we might be able to talk to the player or talk to the coaches. But we're at play 60 in this particular game, so that means we're probably late in the second quarter. And by this point in time, they should have this correct and figured out. And we don't want to continuously talk to them. So this flag is appropriate on this particular play. Our next play here will illustrate just how important it is for our head linesman and line judge to be on the line of scrimmage on plays like this, especially on passing plays. As you can see here, we have a quarterback throw the ball to the receiver, who catches it just beyond the line of scrimmage, as the line of scrimmage was the 50-yard line. The wings also have to be able to rule on whether the linemen were downfield in a particular place, and although they do not appear to be on the 2 yards when the pass is released, we also have to be able to rule on, because the pass was beyond the line of scrimmage, if any blocking took place during this play, because that would be pass interference. Now, it appears that there was no blocking taking place or contact taking place while the ball was in the air until after the ball was caught. But these are all things that the wing officials have to be in place to be able to rule on, so we can appropriately officiate these types of plays. On our next play here, we're going to have the quarterback scramble to the head linesman side of the field, far side of the field. And we're going to have a block below the waist that occurs about in the middle of the field as the quarterback scrambles that way. It appears we have a flag both by the referee and umpire. This is a great call here by both of them. And be vigilant and on the lookout for these types of blocks. On our next video, we're going to take a look at 2 plays back to back, because we have the ball at the 35-yard line. So A snaps the ball, the offense snaps the ball at the 35-yard line. We have a completed pass, and we have a flag by the head linesman here for a pass interference, and the completion of the pass looks like it's about the 25-yard line. So then as we proceed to the next play, we see the ball is at approximately the 12-yard line on the snap for the next play after the pass interference call, the defensive pass interference call. So let's take a look at pass interference. So when we have a defensive pass interference situation, our enforcement is we're either going to have a previous spot 15 yards, or the offense can accept the results of the play. This is not a tack on enforcement, so we do not add the results of the play plus the enforcement. It is always a previous spot enforcement for the 15 yards. The next situation here is going to involve 2 back-to-back plays. One occurs at the end of the first quarter, and then we go into the start of the second quarter. In particular, we have number 3 on the defense here, whose helmet comes off during the last play of the first quarter. and then he's back in on the first play of the second quarter. So let's remember Rule 3, Article 10, that says an official's timeout that's not charged to the team will be taken, and a player should be replaced for one down unless it's a halftime intermission or an overtime intermission when the player's helmet comes completely off, unless it's attributed to a foul by the opponent. So on these particular plays, we need to communicate. We need to, if we have to write this down on a card or whatever, we need to communicate and make sure that this player is not back in the game on the end of a first and second quarter or third and fourth quarter exchange if their helmet came off and it wasn't attributed to a foul. If we communicate that and we keep them off the field, on the next play here, we're going to have a pass play, and we have a good no defensive pass interference call here by the back judge. As you can see, the defender comes across to go for the ball. It looks like their feet just get tangled and go down, and you're going to hear a lot of individuals wanting pass interference, but this is a good no call, it looks like. On this play here, we're going to have a pass play where the receiver does not make the catch, and then he goes to turn around, and the defensive player hits him, and we have both the umpire and the head linesman throwing a flag on this play. And as we watch, the umpire gives a signal for a personal foul against the defense. And then we're going to continue to watch, and we're going to see the coach towards the end here. He's going to give a signal that he wants targeting. So let's talk about this particular play in more detail. So first thing on this play, let's address the umpire giving the personal foul signal. When we have two flags or multiple flags on a play, we want the officials who threw the flags to get together and talk about it before we start giving any type of signals or whatever, so that all the officials are on the same page and we all know that we're making the same call. That's the first thing we want to do. On this play, it definitely looks like we have a foul. And what the particular foul is depends on what you actually observed during this particular play. So as we zoom in on the contact, when the contact is first initiated by the defender in this still photo, which is a little bit grainy and difficult to see, let's talk about what the appropriate penalty is, since we have the coach indicating that he wanted a targeting, and then we have the umpire indicating he has a personal foul. So as we look at this particular still photo, it does not appear to look like any type of contact was initiated above the shoulders of the player by the defensive player. And remember, that's required for targeting. We have to have an act that takes aim or initiates contact against an opponent above the shoulders with a helmet, forearm, hand, fist, elbow, or shoulders. And it does not look like we have any of that. We definitely have some type of contact here that is late and below the shoulders. So we could potentially have a type of helmet contact, maybe an illegal helmet contact, maybe face tackling or spearing, but we cannot see the player's helmet on this play in this still photo from this angle. So if you look in the rule book under Rule 9, Section 4, you have illegal personal contact. And if you look under G, it says make any contact with an opponent, including a defenseless player, which is deemed unnecessary, excessive, and which incites roughness. And I think that would be appropriate here on this particular play. From what we can see from the video in this still photo, that would be the appropriate foul. Now, in comparison on our next play, where I think we do have a targeting play, watch the hit on the quarterback right here in the helmet of the defensive player who makes the hit on the quarterback. So on this particular play, I've taken and zoomed in at the point or the time of contact by the defensive player on the passer or quarterback, and to take a closer look. And here we can see that the defensive player is leading with that helmet, making contact with the helmet above the shoulders, actually about the level of his face mask area on the passer. And so this could be called targeting or ruled targeting. But additionally, we need to also discuss the fact that this player the offensive player was a passer. So he was passing the ball and then he got hit. So if we're ruling this targeting, then we can look at roughing the passer, because contact on a passer can be ruled roughing the passer. And on this particular play, that enforcement would be not only the 15-yard penalty, but also the additional automatic first down. And when we look at the rule book on roughing the passer under Rule 9, It says no defensive player shall commit any illegal personal contact foul listed in 943 against the passer, and one of those things that they cannot do personal contact foul listed is target an opponent. So if we had targeting on an opponent who is a passer, we could have roughing the passer, which carries that additional first down. So let's keep that in mind when we're enforcing a play like this and we're calling this as targeting, that we could potentially have roughing the passer on this play. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to review the Week 8 video review. This concludes our Week 8 video review. Appreciate your feedback and comments, and appreciate those who participated in our Week 6 video comments and feedback on You Make the Call. If you haven't viewed those, please review the Week 6. And next week, we'll take a look at those plays and get the feedback from the other officials and their responses. Until next time, take care and be safe.